So I did some more butterflies. This is I think it's a piece of maple. I was given this piece of wood. I filled a crack with epoxy, black toner, and I put maple butterflies. You can see the crack actually went all the way through. Is that clear? I don't know. And that's it.
Nice.
What
Thank you.
wood is that?
Excuse me?
What species of wood is that?
I'm not sure. Somebody gave it to me, and I think it's a species of maple. I think
Looks like
it's old,
cherry
it's
from
dry.
here, but who knows?
What does it look like?
From here, it looks like cherry, but what can I tell? I'm looking at a video.
No, I don't think it's cherry. I don't think it's cherry.
Okay.
And what did you use for
Nice.
your butterflies?
I used Big Isle engraving template, and he also sells the butterflies.
Okay. So you're not sure what butterfly wood would be? That's
The
wood.
butterfly is maple. This wood is maple.
Okay, is there
Yes.
a black outline around each butterfly?
Well, that's a crack that I filled with epoxy, with
I
toner,
don't
black
mean, I
toner.
don't mean the crack, I mean around each butterfly. I guess not.
No, it's not a crack. Each butterfly is pointed, but there's no crack around each one. Just a crack that's going right through the middle of them.
Okay, very
But
nice.
like you can see, the crack actually did go all the way through, so it took quite a bit of epoxy to fill it, because I filled it before I turned the inside, obviously, you know.
How deep do you think your butterflies are?
They're about maybe an eighth, maybe shy an eighth, probably.
I like the shape.
Thank you. And that's it.
So that's a little box I made recently, Manitoba maple, and then some embellishment by way of ornamental turning on a metal lathe that I've adapted.
You got a picture of that lathe with the adaptations?
I don't have a picture of that. I put up a video on my YouTube channel of how I did it. So it still allows me to use my little metal lathe as a metal lathe if I want to, or I just hook up the computer and use it as an ornamental lathe.
Oh, it has a fly cutter?
This one I did with a fly cutter, which has got to be the simplest thing in the whole world. I can't claim to be a machinist at all, but that was super simple to make, one of those things. And I just put a little 1/8" 60-degree point carbide bit in there that I might use on my CNC router, and set it up, and away you go.
Very interesting.
The side cut over about, I don't know, half an hour, and the top cut over about 10 minutes.
Is that flower on top 5-lobed?
Yep, that's a typical Tudor rose. I decided to keep the design simple rather than putting different, offset layers of the same pattern on, going out layer by layer. I just kept it simple. So there you go.
What do you think, Ray? We only have one other ornamental turner in the club, I think, or at least in the local area here. He gave it a thumbs up. Very nice work. Thank you.
So this is what Rick sent me this morning. He can't be here. He's going to his daughter's graduation. I told him his priorities were messed up. So I just to go through it, it's a spalted maple blank. He routed the design into the
you
bottom
tell him
before he turned it.
All we can see is his email. We can't see the picture.
No, I know, I'm gonna,
He's describing
I gotta
it.
read this first.
He's describing the wording in the letter.
He turned the platter, did the texturing in gilder's wax on the rim with India ink as the background color, and then he finished it with lacquer. And so you can see through the bottom. He's gonna gift this. He had asked me to bring it, and I said, I don't want to bring something that you made that you're gonna give to somebody else. Just send me the pictures. So that's looking through his window with the cathedral window, if you will. And then this is just normal light. So he basically told me he transferred the design onto the wood and then free-handed the router to cut out all those little pieces into which he poured the resin. So that's from Rick.
By the way, for tonight's challenge of procrastination, I have dibs on the line. I didn't get it finished.
I
So,
didn't get mine finished either.
just so we know that. Right.
This is a Christmas ornament that I saw it done in Florida when I was down there at the Peace River Woodturners. And I thought I'd make an attempt at making one. And I got some nice pieces of oak. And I tried it. Starts out with a 2-inch square. You try to get it as accurate as you can and square, because what happens is the holes get off and they get steps in there and so forth. So that's important. And then these little spindles are done separately. And they fit nicely in there. And these are pretty delicate when you get down real skinny like that. So you want to have your tools really sharp for doing that. That's about it.
Did you drill through the holes first?
Sorry,
Did you drill through the?
I can't hear you.
Did you drill through the body?
I went halfway with a 1-inch Forstner bit, and then on the ends are 1/4-inch drill bits straight through right on a drill press. And then if you want to, you can actually chuck on these holes and then contour them on the other side if you want to. So you're wide open for ingenuity.
Okay, I'm Mike. I brought 2 pieces. This is a multi-axis turn bowl. And then I took it to art day and did some airbrushing and painting. I think a little bit of tequila was involved. Got that all done. And it had a nasty crack in it because it was just a practice piece. You got to practice with good wood, because if it turns out well, you don't want a nasty crack in it. So I usually like to leave something natural so you can see it's wood. But since it had a crack, the inside I painted black. And then I used some of Thomas's color changing powder, and I sprinkled it on with a paintbrush, and then just put a sealer over it. So that was a fun thing to do.
What kind of tequila? I mean, what kind of paint did you use for that, for the color?
Just acrylic, probably golden. I like the golden brands. And then I made this platter a while ago, and for the challenge, I took it out and dusted it, so it's finished. It's just a segmented turning. It's turned just like a checkerboard, where you glue a bunch of strips together, and then you cut them apart and rearrange them and glue them back together again. Only instead of making every strip the same width, you go all different widths and you arrange them. And the hardest part is laying it all out and figuring out what you're going to do. The actual doing isn't really all that hard. This starts out as a square, the design, and then I cut it round to fit it into a platter to make it look turned. But in the square, it's like, you know, over 1,000 pieces, but it doesn't really count because you got strips. And by cutting off the strips, you really get the number of pieces up. So
How thick was your original? Or
3/4.
how long was each strip?
3/4. I just took a bunch of 1x boards, cut them into strips. Like I used calipers and I measured each one to the thousandth of an inch because I couldn't see going millimeters, because it's a lot easier to go an eighth of an inch than to go, 3.765 millimeters. It's like, that's ridiculous.
How did you make the outside lobes? Are those bandsawn, or did you figure out some way to turn that?
They're just bandsawed. If you notice, there's 7 just to make it odd instead of doing an even number of 8. I laid it out on a piece of heavy paper and just bandsawed it and sanded it.
Mike, was the rim turned so it's ID, not the OD of the checkerboard piece? Or how was that accomplished?
Yes, the rim was turned. I turned it. First, you turn the center part round, and then you cut a groove in the rim.
Okay.
Let me come on the back side here so everybody can see what I'm talking about. First, you bandsaw the center round and turn it. And as you see, it's recessed into the outer part. Then the outer part's just a disc that you turn. And when you glue them together, then you blend everything in. So the inside, there's a little bit of a lip because I didn't want to see a gap. The center part actually goes underneath the rim on this face. So that's the way that was done.
Did you hold that with a vacuum chuck or something? How did you do that?
I don't remember. Probably was back in my jam chucking days. You can do a lot with a jam chuck.
So I don't know, I usually operate the camera, and I'm a relatively new turner and mostly been doing spindle work. I probably did 300 of those tree things by now that I think I showed when I first joined. Then I started getting into bowls probably around January or so. And I came across, my neighbor had a whole bunch of wood at his farm. So a little piece of mulberry. I don't know, I'm the biggest guy in the room. I make the littlest stuff, go figure. A little piece of spalted ash. This one was finished with friction polish. This one's finished. The rest of them are finished just with wax. There's another one with the spalted wax, spalted maybe. You can see that I almost burned through on the inside. And then this one's a piece of cherry. It's all turned wet. And this sort of warped a little bit. And I figure I practice another 2 weeks, I'll be as good as Angela.
They're doing just fine.
Speaking of Angelo.
Okay, so these are bowls that I did not turn. This looks like it's to my Patty on Mother's Day. What's the wood? It's ambrosia maple. And there's another ambrosia maple. Little shallow bowl, really nice undercut rim. Thickness is really nice. Finish is excellent. This is another piece of ambrosia maple, had a big bark inclusion. What I'm told was stabilized with TAB.
Are those by Ziegler? Are you speaking for Ziegler?
Yeah, I'm speaking for Ziegler. And this is a nice another little shallow bowl, a Dauk. Got a little chatoyance on it. Really nice.
Is that Purdue?
A Dauk, yeah. Pretty. And then we've got the funnel. So you plug the bottom with a piece of walnut. And I think this is also ambrosia maple too. So Ziegler did a lot of work. Good stuff. Good stuff.
What kind of finish are you using for this job?
I didn't finish them, so I don't know.
It's just the deal system with wax on the end.
See that?
That's it. You're with it.
I got something I want to show that on coffee hour last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm sure a lot of people, especially those online, are familiar with Jim Duxbury. I think he's out in Ohio, but I'm not sure. Anyhow, he used to come to all the coffee hours. He was a club member for about a year. He's no longer a member, but he still drops in on coffee hour. Anyhow, he's a very creative guy with jigs and unusual applications, I guess. And therefore, he's really got a big space in my heart, since I can't turn worth a crap, but I get clever with making things. And he showed this this device for turning off center. And I thought it was very elegant and very clever. The whole thing amounts to take two of the jaws off of a 4-jaw chuck. And what is original to me is I put these little pads on here so it was resting on a broader base than just the narrow base of the chuck. Anyhow, I've got a bandsaw slot. You see, and I have a dowel run through it so it doesn't fracture and break into two pieces. The way it works is you put it between the two jaws, and when it's on center, it's up against this little stop. On both sides, I have that little stop there, and that just indicates that's no offset. The bore in the center, I copied what Duxbury did. That's a 1 5/8 diameter. That's purely arbitrary. It could be a much bigger diameter if you use like 4-inch chuck jaws. But whatever you're going to turn, you have to put the 1 5/8 spud on the end. And it goes in there. And typically you start off, I have a little index mark right there. And so if you want to do like, say, a 1/4 inch offset, slide this over, and Duxbury uses a drill bit, so just like for a 1/4 inch, this is about a 1/4 inch. Slide it over until it's a fit. Tighten the jaws on it. Tighten them tight enough so that it's not free to move around. And I had done this to do a 1/2 inch. I didn't actually turn it. I just made this thing today. Well, I made part of it today. This was for a 1/2 inch offset. I drew a 1 inch diameter circle here. So if I were going to move this 1/2 inch offset, I would run the center on that rim right there. And as it turns, it just, like I say, I haven't put a chisel to it, but it does an amazing smooth job as far as not rocking or anything. And by design, Jim designed it so it would take up to a 1 inch offset. I don't know that he got bowls, but he has begun doing bowls that are 3-sided and 4-sided. And after you turn your first offset, you rotate. So if you're going to do like 3 sides, you'll rotate the mark here. Oh, rotate the mark. It's 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90, 120. You rotate it to 120, retighten the jaws, make your second turn, and rotate it over to the other side, 120. Do your third turn. If you're going to do any even number of turns within reason, it allows you to do that. And it holds very nice. I have not tried it. Jim uses it, Duxbury uses it on like very short pieces that he clamps in here and then double-face tapes, like pendant discs, jewelry, say a 2-inch diameter, attractive piece of wood. And he makes partial cuts. If you dome the wood and then put it off center, you get this partial cut through it. And you can do a series of concentric cuts, rotate it, and he's very creative on his geometry. I just wanted to show these, and I told Jim I'd be doing this. Thank you.